For those of you who have just joined us, my name is Veronica Parker, and I am with the California Adult Education Program Technical Assistance Project, and today's webinar is entitled Free Online Textbook and Learning Options Using the CK12 Platform. And today's presenters are Carl Haley from the CK12 Foundation, as well as Neda Anasari from the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network. The PowerPoint for today is using Google Slides. However, we will have a copy available on the California Adult Education website, and I'll be sure to post the URL of exactly where the PowerPoint presentation will be uploaded later on this afternoon, as well as the webinar recording. If you have any questions throughout the webinar today, please be sure to type them in the chat pod. Either Neda or Carl will be available to assist with questions, and if they do not get to you immediately, please just hold tight and they will be able to assist you as soon as a time is permitted within the webinar presentation. And I'm not seeing, I do see one person with technical issues, so we'll be sure to help Penny out with her technical issues. If anyone else experiences any technical issues during the webinar, please be sure to post it in the chat pod, and either myself or Melinda Holt will provide assistance to you. And we do take attendance during our webinar, so if you are participating in today's webinar with another member within your agency but only signed in once, please be sure to let us know who you are participating in the webinar with, and we'll be sure to capture everyone in our attendance records. And if you signed in with your agency name or your consortium name, please be sure to let us know who you are so that we can account for you in our attendance. So now I will turn it over to Neda, who will get us started with today's webinar. Neda?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Veronica. My name is Neda Anasari. I'm Technology Projects Coordinator for OTAN. And I'm really excited that we have this presentation for you today online. I first was learning about CK12 when I was introduced to open educational resources. And when I immediately looked at the free online textbook options, my ears, my eyes perked up to really learn about how we can better serve our adult secondary education and adult basic education students. So this was definitely an opportunity to learn about what we can provide for our students online that will help support them in the adult secondary field, such as finishing their high school diploma and earning credits in specific subjects, and or high school equivalency prep like GED and HiSET. So today we're super lucky that Carl Haley is here from the CK12 Foundation, and he'll walk us through what it means to have free online textbooks and what the CK12 platform gives us. So Carl, thank you so much, and I will hand it over to you.
Great, thanks Neda. This is really a great opportunity to find out about CK12, and I really like that we have a great audience here, and thank you all for joining us. Our goal today is to really show you how CK12 and our new platform can really do really great things with your learners and really help them learn mathematics and science in a way that really appeals to them because they can learn it the way they want to learn it. And not only do we provide digital textbooks, but we have a whole learning platform now, which I'll show you, which allows your learners to go and figure out what they don't know and really fill in their gaps using our adaptive practice and our other modalities which will help them learn. So let's get started here, and let's talk a little bit first about CK12. We are a learning platform, and we are nonprofit. More than nonprofit, we're non-revenue. That means you'll never be giving us any money for anything. Nobody will, not students, learners, districts, schools, anything. We are fully funded by a family foundation whose goal it is to make sure that everyone has access to educational materials that are quality and that will help them learn. And that's what we've got here. So CK12's been around for 12 years. I've been with the foundation for the last 5.5 years. And I think what we're seeing is some really great things happening around the world. We had about 25 million people come to CK12 last year and learn. And we're really proud of those numbers because we can see that we're beginning to make a huge difference, and that the textbooks provided by publishers don't really fit all of our learners. And therefore, it's important to give them content and curriculum and ways of learning which are appropriate for them. As you can see from our usage, we have a lot of usage in the United States of America, but also throughout Europe and India, Australia, South America, and we're really excited. As I said, 25 million of these little dots came to CK12 last year from most of the parts of the world. Obviously, as an internet organization, we do, they need internet access to access the highest quality of what we offer. At the lowest level, yes, we do have PDFs available for students that don't have access to internet. So we do offer something for everybody, but as a digital product connected to us through the internet so that you can take advantage of all the machine learning and the artificial intelligence. That's key. All right, so here's how you could be using CK12 with your learners. We've got full flex books in math and science and other topics too, and I'll show you how to find those. We have created books, but also our users have created books, and I hope today some of you will be sitting there thinking, you know what, I could take one of the CK12 books and I could make a version of it, I could customize it, and I would be able to make a really great kind of learning experience for my learners. We also have people coming in and doing individual lessons, and then finally concept pages where to specifically learn a concept, you can go there and see a wide variety of modalities. One of the things that is our secret sauce is our adaptive practice and then the assignments and reports that go with it. Because our practice adapts, meaning that it's personalized learning in the truest sense of the word. We figure out exactly what level each learner is at, and then we start building from there. Along the way, if we discover that there's some gaps, we go ahead and help them fill in the gaps by providing the content. And finally, the way that you can be using CK12, as I mentioned earlier, is that you by customizing curriculum. This is where kind of CK12 excels way past all other platforms because we do let you customize and we can help you make the best content for your learners. So our flagship product is the Flexbook, and we have now developed the Flexbook 2.0 platform. So we have Algebra 1, Algebra 2 geometry, and we've got middle school math coming throughout the year. We've already introduced some of it, and throughout the summer here we've got Math 6 coming in, and then we'll be complete with middle school. But I know a lot of our learners don't have all the skills that they should have learned maybe in high school and possibly even middle school. So our products here can really help the students learn those things. All of them are ready to use, but they're also customizable. We also offer related modalities, meaning other ways of learning the exact same concept. So content. Because sometimes the students aren't in the mood to read an academic text. Maybe they'd rather watch 2 videos before they read the text just to get a little foundational basis. We also have a lot of interactives in our text, and I'll show these to you. My friends down here at Adobe Connect keep trying to pop in the screen. I don't know if you can see that, but I think it's every time somebody does a question or something. So hopefully we can ignore that there. So let's go to the next slide. And we are going to see here that this is a sample lesson. And I'm going to take us to a lesson here kind of quickly so that you can actually see what this is like. But before we get there, I do want to kind of let you preview what the lesson's about here. As I mentioned, we have adaptive practice for each one of our lessons. That means we've chosen questions for the lesson in that course, and then we let the machine do all the hard part of asking the questions, figuring out what's right and wrong, and then providing content to help fill in their gaps. But we also have this related content, and here it is here, and you can see we have a variety of different ways of learning the same material, and this can be really useful. We also have our Plex Interactives, and we have physics and chemistry simulations, which are all outstanding. We have videos, real-world applications, and study guides written by other learners. So we have a wide variety of resources here, and I go back to everything's free, that you don't have to pay for any of this. It's all been supported by One Family Foundation. So we started out 12 years ago with our original Flexbooks, and we offered lessons with videos in these Flexbooks. At first, everybody was printing them out, but then later, people started to go and only access them online as more and more learners had opportunities to use devices. In the beginning, those were maybe classroom labs, and then they transitioned to laptops. But now we have Chromebooks, and we also have smartphones. And all of the CK12 products can be accessed now through Chromebooks, and almost all can be accessed on the smartphone. So make sure we don't, make sure that we see that the smartphone is a really powerful tool, because it's really important that the students have a device in their pocket which gives them full access to the curriculum they are trying to learn. And as we talked about before, the Flexbook platform now offers all of these different things: lessons with videos, interactives throughout the lesson, modalities, resources, adaptive practice, and mid-lesson check for understanding questions. And we'll see those very quickly here. I'm just going to pause for a second and just ask if, Netta, are there any questions yet that we want to address, or I'll just pause here to see if anybody wants to ask any.
So I don't see any questions, Carl, just yet, but I do want to remind the group to really, when you're talking about this science piece, to really think about how that might fit with that gap that we see sometimes in the instruction for our high school equivalency folks. So this is just a reminder to, when you're following along, to really think of how that might fit in that program area. But right now, Carl, we're good on questions, so we're good.
Sounds great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go live, and we're going to take a look at some of the different offerings that we have in the Flexbook 2.0 platform. It's very easy to log in. If you haven't logged in, any of our participants today haven't logged in yet, you can go and log into CK12 using any email and a password that you create on CK12, but also you can log in through any Gmail account that already exists, or Google Classroom, Schoology, Canvas. We offer a wide variety of ways to get in. I'm currently logged in here as my teacher demo account, named after my mom, who was a math teacher for 28 years. So this is what the home page looks like here, and I'm going to show you, this is a really powerful menu item at the top here, and it's called Explore, and this is where you're going to find access to all the different resources on CK12. Most importantly, here the first one is our Flexbook 2.0. So we're going to go there, and as we come down, you're going to see all the different offerings that we currently offer. So I mentioned earlier that we have already launched this spring Math 7 and Math 8. We have a Math 6 coming by the end of the month. That's our middle school math, and these are all Common Core written books from the ground up. We didn't just take our old content and slap a sticker on them saying Common Core aligned. We wrote these the way that the authors of the Common Core, Phil Darrow and Bill McCollum, really wanted math to be approached. Then we've got our Algebra 1 geometry and Algebra 2. Down here in the sciences, we have middle school earth science, life science, physical science, and for high school, biology, chemistry, and physics. But let's go inside of a book right now so you can really understand what is a Flexbook 2.0 learning platform. So when we first get inside, you'll notice that we are on the table of contents page. There's a little introduction here, but here, this is the units that we offer here, and we've got like introduction to functions, and these are all the lessons inside of that unit. And here we have expressions, etc. So these are going to be the units that we've chosen for our curriculum for Algebra 1 course. And let's go inside a typical lesson for Algebra 1. Let's do modeling with functions. So this is what I call the start page. And in the start page, you're offered, let's go into the lesson, but also even beforehand, you're offered opportunities, the learners are offered opportunities to learn it a different way or watch a video, but also teachers have an option here to some lesson plans that we've put together that talk about pacing, it might talk about some extra problems you can give, etc. So we've attached these now right at the point when you need them. And so we used to keep them in a separate document. And so now they're right in where you need them. And we think it's a really useful resource for teachers teaching this, let's say, for the first time. All right, so let's go into the lesson. And we are now in the Flexbook 2.0 learning platform. And you can see here that we've got a really interesting example of a fidget spinner. And we're talking, then we get into about something about living in different parts of the world, including Sacramento and Lisbon. And then we have some interactive questions that the learners fill out here. And so we have temperature and ice cream sales. So they have to put these into a column like this, and they drag them down, and they figure out exactly which ones are the independent variables and which ones are the dependent variables. And then what happens is we can get some feedback on exactly what it is. So normally when a student approaches text, they just start trying to parse it, to process it, but they're never really given feedback. So here, we are offered the opportunity to try again, but this feedback tells me a little bit more information that I might need to get past this. And the student doesn't advance to the next question until they get this one right, okay? So there are 4 questions here, and this would just be the first of 4 questions they have. So imagine now this text, this textbook now has a way for the students to get feedback as they're learning. Am I really understanding this? Is this something that I've already mastered, or do I need to spend more time on it? And this is really important for the learners because they always don't have access to the teacher. And so having our platform, being able to work with them and communicate with them, and then even better offer feedback for them on their answers, this is really a very useful thing. Inevitably then we offer Plex Interactives, and these are our interactives that can launch from within the lesson. And these are when kind of like your whiteboard comes alive. And they tell you over here to do something, and there's some things to do, and then they move and they watch what's happening. And then there are challenge questions here, even with hints. So like this one's having them calculate 30 degrees Celsius is, I don't know, 89 degrees, I don't know. But it's show correct answer, 86 degrees, that was pretty close. So these are the questions here, and these are the questions here, and I'm going to submit, and that's not correct, and I go to the next one. The really interesting thing is that the last question is always an open discussion question. So if you take a look here, here it is. So you've learned that Celsius and Fahrenheit can be related to each other through a linear equation. By yourself or with others, come up with 3 more examples of related things that have a linear relationship and determine the equation for this relationship using 2 or more data points. So this is a great example of how we work with our students to teach them deeper thinking. And we are, for you, you might use this as a writing prompt with your learners, where they would actually write in a journal or on a piece of paper their thoughts of what are some other examples of things that have linear relationships. So these are our Plex. When they're done with the Plex, you'll notice they get put right back in the lesson. Then they have some things that they're expected to work on, and here's some activities, and here's another little kind of information box. But you can see here are some inline questions, we call them, that give students feedback. So what's the relationship between slide S and a kite and its area if the side length is doubled? So what happens to the area? So the side length is doubled, and maybe you multiply the area times 2? No, it says doubling the area is not the same as doubling each side. Let's try it again. So I think it might be this one here. No, it's not. I forgot that the side also has to be doubled. And I'm getting all this really good feedback and information right in the moment when I'm trying to learn it. And indeed, there's what happens there. When you double the sides, it's 4 times the area. So, and then we move on to the next question. So you can see these inline questions are really rich. And this is something that we've done in the last year, which we think really make our lessons interactive. We have more interactives there. There it is. And then more questions. And then finally, we kind of summarize the lesson. Now, at any point in the lesson, I can go ahead and do the practice. You'll notice because I'm signed in as a teacher, it's offering to me, would you like to assign this to a class in CK12, or would you like to assign it in Google Classroom? You also have the ability from within Schoology or within Canvas to make those assignments also. And we just launched that this last month. All right, so here's where you would enter the practice. And the goal with our practice is let's get 10 corrects. So start by getting 10 correct, and you can start practicing. And you'll notice here that the questions are, I think they start you out and they figure out which level you're at, and then we start to build on that level. So most of the time, the first 3 questions that students see will be the same because we figured out what 3 questions are the best determiners of knowledge. Then, based on the students' responses, we start offering different ones. So let's see here, 1, 3, 5, how about 9? I think that's the correct one there. All right, and then we're doing linear equation. This is it linear plus 3? No, I don't know what this is. Let's say nonlinear. There you go. And this one I'm going to check it, and I did it there. So once we start answering those first 3 questions, it's going to give us a skill level based on what our results were. And then as I'm answering questions, if it starts to see that I'm struggling, then at some point it's going to offer me the opportunity to maybe fill in my gaps that I'm having. I'm getting nothing right here. My skill level, you see, has gone way down. And then at this point, it's going to interrupt me. I've only gotten 2 questions right out of 10, and it's going to interrupt me and say, hey, you know what? No problem. It looks like you just need to brush up on your current concept. So it's offering me to read one of the CK12 lessons, or maybe to do a Plex, or watch a video, and then return to practice and try to do better in the practice. And this is, like I said, this is our secret sauce. This is what makes CK12 so powerful, because we've taken the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning and are really making something of it and offering that to learners and to teachers. So let's stop for now and go back to the lesson. So you can see once I've stopped, it gives me all the information. I spent 2 minutes on this lesson. I got 2 in a row right, but that's it. And then I can come back here and I can see the lesson or the answers that I typed. And obviously I was supposed to write linear or nonlinear. I wasn't even reading it, like sometimes like our learners do. So we go back to the lesson now, and here is my modeling of a function lesson here. Some other things that I want to point out to you is we have some ability to do highlighting and also to annotate text. And I've seen teachers who ask their students, for example, to highlight the topic sentence or the key learning information. So you can decide which variable is independent, the x value and the y value. I might want to highlight that. And you can even choose to change the colors of it. Maybe if it's the important thing of the lesson, you put that in blue, and then anything that supports that, you would put in a different color. So, like as we're coming down here, I might have other important information that I'd want to highlight. And, like here, this is a quadratic, and maybe I'm going to highlight that. And so, so the bottom line, you can do a variety of things here, including annotations. So maybe you might have your learners highlight the first paragraph, and then they do a summary of what this lesson is about. In this lesson, we learn about functions, and you could have them write 3 sentences synthesizing the information that they learned there. So we have a little toolbar out to the side here, and let me show you what this is all about right now. The insights will let me know how my students, if I've done an assignment on this, it'll show me how my students are doing. Right now, none of my students have done this one yet, but as they do it, their scores would be represented here, and I could see the students that are struggling. So those teacher insights are really useful. All the people, both the learners and the teacher, have access to these related modalities, related content that have been chosen to support this. So not only do you learn it the way we've presented it in the lesson, but you now have access to related content which can really be useful in learning it. As a teacher, I'm allowed to assign this to my class, and it'll bring up this window that we saw before. But the other thing is I can just share a link to this lesson if I don't want to assign it. But let's say it was a supporting idea that I needed my students to review, but not necessarily do the practice on. I could just share it using the share button there. I can also add this lesson to a Flexbook that I'm putting together separately. Finally, there's some concept details here where you can see specific things about this lesson, and you can even change the display settings here, which will show you like you can have it bigger or smaller for students that have visual impairment or have any like an IEP which requires them to have larger content. People have often asked us if we have the ability to read the text to the students. And while we don't offer that ourselves, because we use Chrome, there are plugins you can get for Chrome which will allow any part of a web page to be read to your learner. So once again, I'm going to pause. Netta, do we have any questions here about kind of the lessons in the Flexbook 2.0 platform?
We do have questions, and I just want to know, I just want to remind everybody to look back at the Plex and the interactives and how valuable it might be for our adult learners to actually be able to interact with the lesson through this Flexbook. We have a question from Marisol, and Marisol is asking, in the insights, are you able to track the time the student took doing the work?
And the answer is yes. So if you make assignments, one of the things that's tracked is the amount of time that they spent doing it. So, and just know that this Insights is really growing this year. This is something we're really excited about, where we're going to be able to see by your student or overall for the class, where did they spend time on this lesson? So we're going to have a little histogram off to the left here is how we think it'll be employed, where you're going to be able to see how much of the time did they spend doing this, if they even made it down to this part down here. So you're going to be able to see exactly what was the viewing and interacting experience the student had with this lesson. So that's, while that's not available now, but indeed we can tell you how much time they spent on the adaptive practice.
Thank you, Carl. We have another question from Norman, and he is asking, how can we link lessons?
I'm trying to figure out exactly what you're meaning there, Norman. So normally what you would do is you would come and you would put all of your lessons together in one Flexbook, okay? You wouldn't just take this Flexbook as it is in this order. You have the option of removing the lessons you don't want, and you have the option of changing this order here, and you can even add in additional lessons that you might need, whether you got them from somewhere else on CK12 or you've written them from scratch. So the goal is you've put together a Flexbook which is based on the Flexbook 2.0 platform, which allows the learning to happen that way. So, the other thing I'll say about your question, every resource on CK12 has a unique URL. So you can share this URL with anybody. You can post it on your, on your learning management system. But you also, let's say you're inside of a lesson, we can go to the lesson. And once again, here's the unique URL for that lesson that you can share with anybody.
I think we're getting asked how, and to use that as an example, and I believe it's how to link it. So, Joan, or are you asking how to link the lesson? So we're getting some typing here. Do a lesson that is linked. If you can demonstrate a lesson that is already linked.
Okay. Well, so let's do this. Let's say I have found this lesson on representing linear functions, for example, and I want my students to do it. So the thing I would do is I would assign it, and I'm going to go into CK12 and pick one of my, and I have this one group of learners called the purple group, and I'm going to say they need to have it done by this Friday. And I'm going to move down and assign it. So this is maybe what you're talking about with linking it, and that I've assigned that now. Now this is going to require all those students to go in and to do this, to read this lesson, and then to do the associated practice. And then I get all of the information. Did they look at the lesson? And then did they do the practice? And how many did they get correct? So that's where, using this very powerful assign button is where the teacher has the ability to control what the students are doing in the class. Not sure if that answered the question, Netta, but cool.
Yeah, yeah. Marisol is also asking, so I create the group and then assign the lesson.
Exactly right.
So
whether you want to do that in CK12 or we have so many of our users now doing it in Google Classroom because of all the benefits of Google Classroom and Google Classroom is free. So we have, that's also an easy way. But you want to roster your class somewhere, whether it's in Google Classroom and then that automatically comes into CK12. That's a great way to do it. All right, let's go now, and I want to take you, let's go back to the presentation for just a second, and we'll make a little more progress there. So as we talked about, we've got math and science for middle school and high school, mostly. Our original Flexbook have longer, more traditional lessons, and then we have something else called the concept books, which are smaller, bite-sized lessons. But the bottom line is everyone should really be working in the Flexbook 2.0 platform to take full advantage of all the new kind of learning insights that we have for both learners and teachers. We also have community contributed books where we can find lots of different content, and I'll show you examples of that when we go live again in just a second. We also have these concept pages. You can search on CK12 for a specific concept, and then you'll find a variety of lessons. Here we have simulations, like 4 simulations on position and displacement. Plex, we have 6 videos, activities, study aids, our adaptive practice, and even real-world applications. So you'll notice that this is kind of the basis of how CK12 got started, where these are different learning modalities, and not every student wants to learn the concept the same way. And in the end, we don't really care which way you learn it. Just learn it and be able to answer some questions on it, and then we'll know that the learner has done what they need to do. So I'll show you how to get to these here. We have our Plex Interactives, as Netta said, especially for science here. It's a great way for our learners to go experience the concept. And we have about 1,100 of these Plex. Plex stands for Play, Learn, Interact, and Explore. And these are great opportunities for students to explore a specific content. In the Plex, we limit the number of variables to 1 and sometimes 2. But in our simulations, we can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different variables that the learners are all in control of, which allow them to learn and really expand here. And we're getting a school announcement here. This is kind of exciting. Or maybe it's the bell. It's the first time I've heard that. All right, I'm in beautiful Salinas, California today, where we're going to be working with some science teachers this afternoon who are putting together their own Flexbook in 2.0 for NGSS 1 and 2 courses. So it's kind of exciting. So we're on location today. All right, let's finish this up. We've got simulations, as I mentioned, are just these really wonderful in-depth simulations that have been programmed by really talented animators, and they cover physics and chemistry topics. It's a great way if you're doing anything, like we have a lot of teachers that are concerned about NGSS these days, or how to think like a scientist, and especially if the students don't have access to lab materials, these are a great way for the students to gain the knowledge covered by traditional labs, even without the access to the labs. But these real-world situations are overlaid with sliders, and then the students control that kind of learning there. So I've covered a few things here. Let's go back live, and let's go see some of these in action. So the first thing I want to do, let's go back to the website here, and you can just click on the CK12 logo to get back to the home page, and I'm just going to type in something like motion. And indeed, there's a motion in physics and also in physical science. So let's go to the concept here, and we get to the concept page. And this is where you're going to find a lot of great things, including simulations. And I can click here. We have 4 different motion simulations. One called Irwin and Ruthie about a relationship between velocity and acceleration and position. Here's a model rocket one, Irwin 2D, trajectories, and butterfly strokes. So these are all different ways, really powerful deep learning ways that you can use with your learners. You can assign these through CK12 or through Google Classroom, and the students can do them. And you can see, that the students did that, and you can give them credit for it. Let's go back here. So the concept page here is a really powerful way to offer to your learners to say, here, I need you to learn motion. You're welcome to choose anything on this page, and then in the end, when you're done, do the practice. Okay? So let's go into one of these right now, and I think let's go into, I know the butterflies well, let's go to Irvine and Ruthie. So all of our simulations begin with a guiding question. Who will make it to the elevator first, Irwin or Ruthie? And they're two robots. Two silly, wacky robots are trying to go to the elevator. So I'm going to skip past this, but it's an introductory video where we get the learners thinking about this concept. And then once we do, we have them, this is what I call the sandbox. And here we have different kinds of profiles that we can offer. And you can see the graph up above is changing. And here let's have not confused. I like confused. Oh, they're both confused. So let's do a hustle. You have a question, Netta?
Oh, sorry. Did I forget to mute? Sorry about that. So we have a few questions, but let's wait until you're done with this demonstration.
We can try that, and then we set and we push the play button, and we can see how, oh, it looks like Ruthie won there. So you can see this beautiful representation graphically here off to the side, which is really a powerful way to help the student understand what's going on here. So this is our velocity here over time. And these are sometimes hard things for students to understand, and we think that the actual simulation is a great way to do it. Of course, you can assign it to your learners right here. Okay. All right, and then I want to go to the Plex, and I want to show you Plex just really quickly. We've seen one already, and this is one that is in science, and you can see once again it's graphically based, and I can move my red dot around trying to answer the question. There's always a voice set up a situation here, and then there's 5 different questions, the last of which is always that open discussion question. All righty. The one other thing that I forgot to show you, maybe we'll go use a lesson here for a second, is at the bottom of the page, we have the option of translating any of our lessons on CK12 into any of the Google Translate languages. So, a lot of second language learners have a home language of Spanish, so you can choose Spanish here, and they can view the page in Spanish, but it's also Punjabi and Urdu and Chinese, and so you can see that we've got some really great things available to the learners. And if they're younger learners, often the parents who don't speak English either, they really enjoy being able to access content directly in their native language. So this is also a great opportunity. So why don't we pause there, Netta, and what kind of questions do people have?
Okay, so we have Penny, who is interested in the Plex Interactives and the simulations. She wants to know, is she able to create those via the Flexbook platform? Or is there a place that she can build them on her own?
So far, we don't offer the users opportunity to make their own. They can embed them into an existing book. So let me just go quickly show you. And actually, maybe this is the great time. I know we'll talk about it later, but I'm still in Spanish. Let's go back to English for the benefit of everybody here. If there's a lot of things, if all of a sudden you're like, yeah, this CK12 really seems like it would help me with my learners, and I want to learn more, we offer a whole webinar program, which is our version of free PD, free professional development. And in the webinars here, you're going to see a wide variety of things about CK12. We offer them live throughout the year. In fact, I'll be hosting on September 4th at 3 p.m. California time. I'll be hosting Getting Started with Flexbooks on the 2.0 platform. And then after that, we have a variety of other ones coming up. But more importantly, you can access all of them right now, archived from the past summer. And So we have getting started with the platform, advanced flexbook editing, Common Core math, non-STEM subjects, etc. Teaching strategies, adaptive practice, creating custom assignments in adaptive practice, our simulations in Plex, learning management systems. So you can see we have such a variety of professional development. They're all about an hour long. And for anybody that wants more information, this is where you come to get it here from CK12. And it's free, of course. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's perfect timing, Carl. Yeah, so that was, we had some other questions in the chat as far as creating and playing around with the system, and so this is perfect that they can find those webinars on the website. I do have another question from Penny. She wants to know if it's correct for her to assume that she can find other simulations from NASA, PhET, or others, that she can link them and embed them in her own
So yeah, so
Flexbook.
this is what I want to show you now. Is let's say we are, let's go, I think I probably in my library have a book here that Marion's been working on in some demo. How about Haley High School, North Shore Chemistry? This is a Flexbook for a chemistry book course that I'm teaching, let's say. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go edit it. And we haven't really talked about the editing yet, but I do want to show you this embed thing because it's really cool. So let's say there's a Plex or sim that you want to embed here, or even a PhET simulation that you know and like, or one from NASA. The key thing is you just need the embed code. And if you know what this means, you might have done it using YouTube in the past, but you just need some embed code. So I can come here and I can actually, on CK12, say insert media. And then all I need to do is to go get the embed code. So I'm going to go to CK12 to my Plex, and I'm going to go get a Plex that I want to embed. And let's say it's this Plex right here. So inside every one of our Plex, under these ellipses here, you're going to see embed. And this is where you can take the embed code from a Plex Interactive or from a simulation, or even from a PhET simulation or a YouTube video, and I can copy that embed code there, and I can paste it in right here. And I can preview it right here. And Ryan needs to go to the main office, if Ryan's listening. All right, so there's the embed code, and there it is. And this is the power that you can put these simulations, you can put these Plex, you can put the PhET simulations right in the middle of your lesson on the Flexbook 2 platform. Here it is right there. So the embed code is something you can learn on CK12, and it's really powerful because it allows you to put all your great resources right in the lesson. All right, Netta, how are we doing? Any other questions?
I think we're good to proceed.
Excellent. All right, I think we're going to come here, adaptive practice. I think we've gone over that already. The key thing with the adaptive practice is you really want to get used to assigning it to your students from the lesson there, okay? So when you're in the lesson, you click on the assign button, you assign the lesson. It includes the lesson, the read, but it also includes the practice. And it's just a really great way. We have about 150,000 math and science questions right now. It says the questions are at 3 levels. They're actually at more levels than that, but we kind of reduce it to easy, medium, and hard. And then when a student is struggling, we don't let them just struggle there. As you saw when I was struggling in adaptive practice, it offers me content to help fill in the gap. And then you can even make your own quizzes, which then allow you to have specific questions served up in a more summative questioning way. We have assignments and reports, and as I mentioned, content is passed back into all of these different places besides CK12. You have Google Classroom, Schoology, Edmodo, and Canvas. And you can also assign specific lessons to each one of these classes anywhere, whether it's on CK12 or on one of our learning management systems. And we saw the detailed reporting, how many of the questions out of 7 easy questions that they attempted, they got 5 right. And they spent overall 58 seconds, and they got 8 correct. And the goal is 10. They're still not very far on the skill level, though. They need to get a little bit further. One of the cool things we are recently started offering is a heat map. And with the heat map, you can see at a glance which students are struggling and what are they struggling with. And we listened to teachers who said, I need to be able to see a more global view of my class. And this might help guide instruction if the teacher needs to do a pause and maybe start focusing on something else. So I keep alluding to customizing, and I think this is where CK12 really can make amazing things happen with your learners. If you were to customize a Flexbook for the course that you're teaching, and this is where you get to make a book that is exactly in the right order that you need it with exactly the right content. And I think this is really important because that allows the book, the idea of the book, the Flexbook on the 2.0 platform, to be the source of information for your students. No longer do they have like a Google folder that has PDFs in it and things, and they're all kind of in all directions. This is everything all in one place. And you know, whether you want to create a book for your school that all the teachers use who teach that course, or specifically for the course that you're teaching in your classroom, it's up to you. But you'd be amazed that in just a few minutes, you can do this process of moving things around and deleting them. And we'll take a look at that in just a second. You, of course, get to customize the lesson then. And you can, as we talked about, you can change the formatting, you can put in links, like, you know, let's say you use Discovery Science and you have a subscription to that through your school. And you can put links to Discovery Science, you can put links to anything legally, as long as it's a link, as long as you're not actually copying the copywritten content. But you can put a hyperlink in there and the students can access it that way. But we can even do formatted math images. You can upload your own images. And I always encourage teachers to upload images from their school with their learners in it. You know, really personalize the book to make it more engaging. You can embed videos and other media, upload other resources. You know, like the whole idea here is you're in charge of this lesson. You even get to choose which modalities appear in the related modalities in the toolbar. Finally, you can customize practice, and this is yet another way that if you're interested in making sure that the right questions are getting asked of your learners, you can put in your own questions, and you're in charge of things like whether you can have the hints turned off or on, or whether when they're done they're going to see the answers, that kind of thing. So you can see there's just a wealth of information that are available here. We do have a really good page for those of you who just would like to find out a little bit more. It's ck12.org/overview, and this shows kind of little 2-minute videos of all of our different resources. And then, as I mentioned here, we've got our webinars that we offer throughout the year, and of course they're free, but it's a great place for you to get started to kind of learn more. So we're going to pause there, and we're going to go back live on the CK12 website. I'm just going to go ck12.org.
Carl, are you going to show us some of what's available on the library, for example, where maybe some teachers would like to use something that's already been created?
Customizing. So here's what I'd like to.
Okay, and then I have a question whenever you want to pause for that.
Just let me know what the question is.
Okay, so how can I export out my Flexbook? EPUB, course cartridge, or other formats like PDF?
Let's go back here. And so you can come here, and one of the options, if you've customized your book, meaning that you've made it your own, we offer you the ability to download an individual lesson, or you can download the whole book. And this is in PDF. We no longer support the EPUB because nobody was using them. And for us, as a small organization, we tend to go where the usage goes. And so, you have access to a PDF right now. But the bottom line is, in the research that we've done, our students and learners are connected. They have devices to access the live version. They have, they all have this device in their pocket, and they're able to do that. So it's very few people that were using any of our offline services. including downloading the PDF. But we do know that is important, so we've implemented that on the Flexbook 2.0 platform. All right, but let's go back now to finding other resources. So, like one of the things that I encourage you to do is to use our search bar up here, and I'm going to show you something like history. Maybe you teach a history course, and of course CK12 doesn't produce history, but I want to show you here. One of the options that you have is to search by a Flexbook, the original Flexbook, or more importantly by Flexbook 2.0. And then when you're in Flexbook 2.0, you can search for CK12 content, which, yeah, none of these look very history-like. But if you look under Community Contributed, I've got a variety of history books already in the Flexbook 2.0 platform that are ready to go. And the really cool thing is, let's say this U.S. history this is actually a CK12 book, but I can come here and take this book going, oh my goodness, this is exactly what I need. And then I'll probably add in a couple more units myself, but I can customize it and I can make this book my own instantly. So I can say, it's still working. Yeah. So I can come here and I can do Haley Adult School, U.S. History, save, and I've now got that EPISD book is now my book, and that's how the sharing works when we offer open educational resources. And that's the benefit of creating content and then sharing it on CK12 with others, is that other people can use it and they don't have to reinvent the wheel. So this is how you begin the customization process. Go watch one of our many videos in the webinar section. Like we might have some high school equivalency. Let's see, let's search that term on CK12 and see if there's anything like CK12 did not compare. Well, there we go. So I have a high school equivalency algebra book that's from up in Washington State. And so this is a book, if you teach high school equivalency, this is a book that you might want to take a look at that somebody's put together for her adult learners trying to get their high school equivalency. So once again, it's as easy as...
And there are GED. I've seen some GED books as well.
And let's go to Community Contributed. And yeah, so here's a GED Mathematics Companion. Here's a Read GED Math and Knowledge Levels. Geometry for GED is a 2.0 book. Foundational Math for GED. And once again, just go in and take a look at these books and see if they apply to what you're doing. And then you can come in and customize it and begin, I could put it in the Haley Adult School and you begin putting together a book that exactly matches the course that I teach. And that's pretty exciting. Let's see here. Any other questions currently, Netta, before we wrap this up?
I think we're okay to wrap it up.
So I know
Carl.
This has been a brief, we've kind of gone quickly here, and I really want to encourage you, as I said, to the bottom of this page, there's webinars here, and then the CK12 resources is really good at trying to figure out what CK12 offers. And so, definitely spend a minute and go through this page and share it with others. The one thing, because we're free, we really appreciate when you can pay it forward all the benefit that you've received from CK12 and let people in your network know, whether that's a teacher down the hallway or at the schools, the other schools in your system, or even in social networking networks that you have. Please share about CK12. You can tags at CK12 Foundation, and that is always a useful way for our users to know what's happening and how you're using CK12. So, but we really definitely appreciate when you can tell other people about it because you have access to people that we don't. One other thing that I didn't mention here, we do have Cafe, and the Cafe is a great place to get help in math and science, but also for you to talk to other educators. And let me just quickly show you that here. So in our Cafe, we have Math Corner, Science Corner, but also Plex Corner where people discuss those open discussion questions. And we also have Jumpstart for educators. And this is where you can go and get help from other educators. Of course, At the end here, I'll share our address for our own support. But, you know, the bottom line is some really great questions here from educators, and you can get it. And once again, you get there by going to Explore and then the cafe. All right.
And I just want to encourage you, don't be discouraged if you see a very heavy use of K-12 and with our middle school or high schools or even elementary schools. Remember, we want to start using this more in adult ed. So definitely utilize what people have been talking about in K-12 and how you might be able to use that in your adult ed setting. There's some really valuable information there.
Another thing you might find interesting is our testimonials page, where you can hear from users from across the country who have used CK12 and how it works well for them. And this can often serve as an impetus to make sure that you have that you understand what what CK12 is. And I think you'll hear some really interesting stories there. As I mentioned, we integrate with a lot of different LMSs. We work on any device that has a browser. So the good news is that we have got a lot of content that can be really served up nicely on that device in your learner's pocket. All right, well, that I don't know if there's any final questions before we sign off here, but I do want to do a special shout out to our support at CK12. We have real human beings that answer your questions about CK12, and they usually try to do it within 24 hours of receiving the email. And then there's support at otan.us also for your OTAN questions. Sorry, we're getting more announcements here in the background here at Selena. And then I don't know if, Netta, if you have anything else to say about other things that you're doing, but that's kind of the wrap up from CK12.
Well, this was an opportunity for us to share this amazing resource and hopefully get more adult schools to learn about it and use it more in their ASE, ABE setting. And if you can find a unique way to use it also with your advanced ESL students as well. So I hope this was a benefit to everyone. I hope we answered most of your questions, and I think it's time for us to hand it back over to Veronica. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Netta, and thank you, Carl, for today's presentation. It was definitely a lot of great information included. I will be posting the recording to this webinar as well as a link to the CK12 website and the PowerPoint presentation for today's webinar on the California Adult Education website. So if you want to come back and review any of the materials that were shared, or if you would like to pass this information along to colleagues, it will be available for you to do so. So thank you all very much. I'm going to close the webinar room, and when I do, an evaluation will appear. Please be sure to fill out the evaluation and let Carl and Netta know what you thought about today's presentation, and if there are any other ways that they can support you in your classroom and instruction and textbooks. Thank you all very much, and have a great day.